what do we have on the front cover of this selected poems?
What is it? Well, the guitar, right?
It's a cranial
No, it's
guitar.
not just a guitar.
It's cranial.
It's a blue guitar.
Mm.
Do you know what the blue guitar refers to?
What, Picasso?
Well, first Picasso, but then Wallace Stevens, the man with the blue guitar. You do not play things like they are. Things are changed upon the blue guitar.
Well, Wapaka Wila Wila.
The idea is to strum variations of language, which is the closest Wallace Stevens, as that great modernist, came to strumming variations. And at its best, the man with the blue guitar, it's 33 cantos. In one canto, he breaks completely down, and it's simply song sound.
Wow.
Yeah, that's cranial guitar. Go to Canto 1. The man bent over his guitar, a shearsman of sorts. You get this, Jake?
Yes.
He's shearing the sheep that is the guitar. Huh? The man bent over his guitar, a shearsman of sorts. And shearsman refers to the Cubist cut-ups collage. The day was green. They said, and they are the detractors, people who don't think you should be making poems out of imagination. They said, you have a blue guitar. You do not play things as they are. These are the social, realist, leftist critics of the man of the imagination. You have a blue guitar. You do not play things as they are. The man replied, things as they are changed upon the blue guitar. And they said then, but play you must, a tune beyond us, yet ourselves, a tune upon the blue guitar of things exactly as they are. Canto 2. I cannot bring a world quite round, although I patch it as I can. So there's the Cubist. I sing a hero's head, large eye, and bearded bronze, but not a man, although I patch him as I can, and reach through him almost to man, as if to serenade almost to man is to miss by that things as they are, say that it is the serenade of a man who plays the blue guitar. Now the detractors come back in Canto 3. Ah, but to play man number one, to drive a dagger in his heart, to lay his brain upon the board. Here the detractors are referring to close reading and over-analysis, and, like you take the poem and you do too much with it. To lay his brain upon the board and pick the acrid colors out, to nail his thought across the door. So that's the 95 Theses. That's Reformation, right? To nail his thought across the door, its wings spread wide to rain and snow, to strike his living high and ho, H-I-H-O, to strike his living high and ho, to tick it, tock it, turn it true, to bang it from the savage blue, jangling the metal of the strings. Oh my God. One more of this passage. 4. And now it's guitarist's response. So that's life then, things as they are. It picks its way upon the blue guitar. 1 million people on one string, and all their manner in the thing, and all their manner right and wrong, and all their manner weak and strong. No, the feelings crazily, craftily call. Like a buzzing of flies, that's the sound of the guitar now, a buzzing of flies in autumn air, and that's life then, things as they are, this buzzing of the blue guitar. So he's doing variations. And now I'll get to the moment where he falls apart. He cannot do it anymore. On the way, he decides to get political. Raise reddish columns. Canto 10. Toll a bell and clap the hollows full of tin. Throw papers in the streets, the wills of the dead, majestic in their seals. This is either a reference to it's a Depression poem, 1930s. It's either a reference to turmoil in the streets after the banks fail, or the appearance of a dictatorial savior politician, probably a fascist. Throw papers in the streets, the wills of the dead, majestic in their seals, and the beautiful trombones behold the approach of him whom none believes, whom all believe that all believe, a pagan in a varnished car. Roll a drum upon the blue guitar. Lean from the steeple, cry aloud, here am I, my adversary, that confront you, hooing the slick trombones, yet with a petty misery at heart, petty misery ever the prelude to your end, the touch that topples men and rock. And then he examines Picasso, and he wonders if the painting called Guernica, which is the result of the fascist we see in the previous canto, whether that horde of destructions, which is a phrase a negative reviewer of that painting printed, whether this horde of destructions, whether cubism or destructive modernism is going to do the trick. Here it is, canto 15. Is this picture of Picasso's, this horde of destructions, a picture of ourselves? Now, an image of our society? Do I sit deformed, a naked egg, catching at goodbye, harvest moon? Goodbye, harvest moon is popular too. Catching at goodbye, a harvest moon, without seeing the harvest or the moon? Things as they are have been destroyed. Have I? Am I a man that is dead at a table on which the food is cold? Is my thought a memory not alive? Is the spot on the floor there wine or blood? And whichever it may be, is it mine?
Wait, that's a Picasso reference too, right? The dead man at the table.
Exactly. So now, Stevens, he's run out of gas. The detractors have proven to him that these endless variations cannot make anything new. And so he turns to a minimalist approach. He begins to make noises on his guitar, the poet's guitar, and he creates a canto, my favorite, in which very few words are actually used. The total number of words is about the same as the other cantos, but the number of different words is minimal. Can you see it? Be careful.
What is there in life except one's ideas? Good air, good friend, what is there in life? Is it ideas that I believe? Good air, my only friend. Believe would be a brother full of love. Believe would be a friend, friendlier than my only friend. Good air, poor pale guitar.
Do you think he's addressing his guitar, the source of his variations, his improvisations?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's poor pale, he's like, that's the thumb going on the bass strings of the guitar.
Yeah.
Poor pale guitar. And the strumming, I believe, good air, friend. This rolls off. It's pure music. Good air and good friend. Him outside being a street poet.
It's a mid-career modernist poem, and it's a played out argument, a dead end argument between reality and the imagination. And reality turns in Stevens' political vocabulary to refer to realists, and he's not a realist. Right? So reality is, poetry should describe the world as it is, and he's saying no, poetry is about the medium, and the medium is this cubist slash surrealist slash Dada improviser. Keep the Dada out for a second. An improviser. And he ends up siding with the poet of the imagination, and the only thing he has left when he does that, because everyone else turns away from him, is the medium itself, which creates this improvisation, the last piece. Some people have said that is the dead end of that style, and I know that you don't agree.
I mean, good air. He's clearing the air. This is the breath going, right? The breath line, right?
What is it about contracting to this minimal vocabulary, which seems like he's giving up, and yet this is like the greatest moment of poetic invention?
he's repeating the riff, right? These are the variations on the riff. If friend is your chord, then the good friend, the only friend, the lonely friend, like these are the variations on the possible chord that keep morphing, and it's like, oh, it's beautiful.
So, more generally, how you are a poet that prizes improvisation. What are your roots in modernism? Because modernism doesn't so obviously lead to improvisation. I mean, what are your modernist roots, your own modernist roots?
Well, I would say definitely the Beats and Ginsberg, and them leaving the page for something that encompasses the good air, also the breath line, right? The moment. It's not. It's sort of something that has to change with your environment, that feeds on the immediate environment and doesn't live in the book alone.
What happens when improvisation fails?
I think it has to, fail a little bit to be improvisation. Otherwise, you're not really improvising. If it's not failing, you're doing the same thing that doesn't fail. And if you're failing, and within that failing, suddenly, bop means a mistake, right? So
Bop, B-O-P means a mistake.
So then you're making a mistake, and then you're writing the mistake. You're the mistake, the eternal mistake, the riff of a mistake, and you embody your mistake and become something new in it.
When you perform and you make a mistake, you will often seize on that mistake and then go somewhere else.
I hope so. Yeah, that's the idea. I mean, I'm not gonna apologize for it. I'm not gonna say, "Oh shit." Let me read that again.
Yeah, you're performing.
I think you just roll with it, and if it, if you're stuttering, then you just keep stuttering, because it seems like there's rhythm in stuttering.
What I like about Stevens there is that he's jamming together all the media. So we've got Picasso, collage, cut up, cubism, which leads to the politics of Guernica. So you've got that. You've got modernist painting. Then you've got the guitar, which is both a subject matter, an object classic to Picasso at that time, but it pops out of the painting and becomes a musical trope of strumming. So he strums the words, right? And then, of course, you have language with poetry. Those three things, right? And go ahead,
and the blues, obviously the blues reference, right? I mean, blues is the medium where you get so much repetition.
Right, so there's the blues, as in the man with the blue guitar.
And the blue note, the note that doesn't quite exist, the bent note, the messed up note.
Right. So this is what poetry can do. And yet here is a kind of a guy thought of as a stuffy first-generation modernist, who by the 1930s is trying to break out. And the way to break out, he thinks, is to first refute those who think poetry should do things politically. And secondly, to affirm that he has his debts in music, in the concept of a guitar strumming. And in the strumming, you actually create things you didn't expect by doing chord variations. And he's trying to get his poetry to do the same. So I just want to ask you one more question. Since we're talking about improvisation.
Yeah.
So when you are performing, let's say with musicians, and you realize that the 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of you have just come upon something you didn't expect, and you did it in concurrence or harmony, as it were.
Yeah.
And you realize, first, that you achieved something that you hadn't anticipated, and second, that you'll never be able to do it again. Can you describe what's in your head at that moment? How did you do it? What are you thinking? And if you think too much, it messes it up, I suppose.
Well, I would say it's most analogous to when you're singing together with people, and you're sort of like you hit the right note where you feel like, okay, now we're in harmony. It's that same kind of feeling. You just it's almost like a physical sensation, a buzz in the back of your head that you know you're in tune.
I do know that I can do 3-part harmony sometimes, occasionally.
It's better than this.
So I do understand what you're saying. But there's an irony there, because harmony is typically very major. It's very settled. It's got all those automatic brain juices. But you're often doing a disharmony in order to create that.
But same idea. It's just it's a correspondence, that you become aware of, and you get almost like a physical buzz in the back of your head and the back that that this is that we're hearing each other and we're talking. Like David Meltzer said, he says that the language of jazz is like the proto-language or language of paradise, as he put it. People on stage can hate each other's guts, but they're communicating at a profound level. They may not know each other. They might be there.
Or is David Meltzer suggesting that humans can overcome disaffection by playing together?
I think so. I've seen many times the thing that he described, where people are clearly communicating with each other, and Nate Mackey writes about it.
Nathaniel Mackey writes a lot about improvisation, doesn't he? That's really his main theme.
Yeah, and specifically about people talking to each other through instruments. Like there's this Charles Mingus, Eric Dolphy tune that he talks about called "What Love," which, it really does sound like they're saying something through the instruments. Well, I think they may have had a tense relationship at times, but they really liked each other. It's not quite it's not as extreme as what Meltzer describes.
Right.
But it's very clear if people are improvising, they're hearing each other. They're not saying semantic things, but they're saying big things to each other.
We're assuming in this conversation praise for and valuation of artists working together. But poetry, alas, has a long history of the individual writing in his or her, but mostly his garret, and doing it alone. And everything you've said in the last few minutes all assumes collaboration for improvisation.
Yeah. Well, and on the reader's end, it becomes, that the improvisation thing comes in, and the band of readers together, which is what you're doing, right?
Yes.
Your orchestra of orchestra.